Yo, what's up, YouTube? Hold on one second. What's up, YouTube? Today we back with another video. We got Gucci Man finessing Pooh Shiesty out $25 million. You know what I'm saying? Now this is a real story. You feel me? News got out, word around town. You know what I'm saying? My boy Gucci Man, I pretty much already heard, but he gonna go more into detail. Um, like I said, yeah, Pooh Shiesty was locked up. His contract got paused. And while he was in jail, word around town was Gucci Man pretty much wasn't breaking off no bread for Pooh Shiesty, the money he was making off of Pooh Shiesty, and even after, you know what I'm saying? But I feel like he did look out a little bit. I feel like, you know what I'm saying, this stuff that's not being said, but other than that, this video might explain at least most of it that got out on the internet, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, I don't do too much. I kind of watch the videos, react, and give my points of view on what I think of it. But like I said, for the most part, I've been hearing a lot of word around town, you know what I'm saying? So I'm pretty sure the word around town might be possibly true. You know what I'm saying? For the most part, we're gonna get into this video. We gonna listen to everything they gotta say and give our point of view afterwards. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to say too much too early. For the most part, y'all like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notice for more videos like this. We on the grind. We locked in. We got videos flooded back to back. So y'all definitely tap in for sure. Other than that, we ain't gonna waste too much time. We're gonna get into this video. Let's get it.
$1 million. That is how much Gucci Mane allegedly collected off one artist. While that artist was sitting,
Let
that
me go
is how
back.
much $25 million. That is how much Gucci Mane allegedly collected off one artist. While that artist was sitting in a federal prison cell, not seeing a single dollar. And when Pooh Shiesty's
Right, that's
mother
what I
reached out
heard
for
too.
help, needing anything, even just support, Gucci Mane ignored her like she was nobody. But here's where it gets real dark.
Crazy.
When Pooh finally came home after 3 years behind bars, ready to reclaim his career and collect what was owed to him, he sat down and asked Gucci Mane directly, "Where is my money?" And Gucci Mane looked him in the face and said,
What?
"I'm broke right now. Broke." The CEO
He
of
told his
1017
see,
Records,
nah.
the label that just spent 3 years
But at the
collecting
same
off one of
time,
the
though,
hottest
still
artists
though, you
in
know, it's a
Memphis rap,
25 mil
broke.
game. Even if
Now
he did
understand
act
something.
like that,
In the
you know what
streets,
I'm
there is
saying, nigga,
nothing.
you
And
making
I
money
mean
off of
nothing
bro gang. You
more
know what I'm saying? You ain't
disrespectful
breaking
than
off
playing
no
with a
bread.
man's money.
You
That
feel me?
is the
You
kind of
definitely, you
thing
know what I'm
people are
saying,
willing to
shiesty
die
as
over.
hell. You on some
And
petty shit, I
allegedly,
ain't gonna
Pooh
lie to you.
Shiesty was done talking. On top of all of that, Pooh came home thinking
Trying to
his
be shiesty to
contract with
shiesty, nigga. I
1017
would have asked
Records
you the
was
same way,
done.
nigga, where
He
my
had
money
done the
at, nigga?
time. He had
Fuck you
paid
talking
his
about, nigga? You
dues.
ain't
He
gonna send me
assumed
shit. I
that
know
was
you
it.
in this
But
bitch making a
here's the
bag
part
off me
nobody
still.
told him before he
Fuck
signed
you
that
talking
deal.
about?
When you go to prison, your recording contract does not end. It pauses. The clock stops on your album rollout obligations, but the CEO, he keeps collecting every stream, every sync, every royalty check, and you see zero of it while you're locked up. Pooh
Yeah, that
Shiesty did 3
shit
years in
petty as
federal
hell. I ain't
prison.
gonna lie to you.
Gucci Mane came home
That
to
nigga,
check
he
after
know he
check.
wrong for that.
And when
I ain't
Pooh
gonna lie.
walked out and asked for his cut, he got excuses. So Pooh decided to handle it differently.
I wanted to see where it's gonna go from here, though. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause I don't think they gonna ever bounce back after this. You feel me? I think it might be over with between them.
Story in hip-hop.
Like, what a
And it is going to
contract gonna
put
go
Pooh
after this
Shiesty
is
away
my
for the rest of
question.
his
You
life
feel
if the
me?
feds have their way. Stay right here, because what I'm about to break down for you is bigger than the robbery. This is about how the music industry turns artists into products, how a contract can legally rob you blind, and how Pooh Shiesty's story went from Memphis underdog to federal fugitive in the span of 5 years. Do not go anywhere. Pooh Shiesty was one of the most promising
Shit
young
crazy.
rappers to come out of Memphis in a decade. In a city that gave hip-hop 3-6 Mafia, Yo Gotti, and Moneybagg Yo. That is not a small statement. He had the flow, the energy, the street credibility, and the commercial appeal. When Gucci Mane came knocking, it felt like a blessing, a legend reaching down to pull up the next generation. But the relationship between Pooh Shiesty and Gucci Mane did not stay a blessing for long. What people see on the surface, the collab records, the matching chain photos, the Instagram posts, none of that tells you what was really going on behind closed doors. The contracts, the money, the silence. To understand how things got to the point where Pooh Shiesty allegedly put an AK-style pistol in Gucci Mane's face and forced him to sign a release at gunpoint, we gotta go all the way back to where this relationship started, because this story
Yeah,
does
for
not
they
begin
ass
in a
wildin'
Dallas
though,
studio
bro.
in 2026. It begins in Memphis in 2019. Let's rewind to 2019. Lontrell Williams Jr., known on the streets and in the booth as Pooh Shiesty, was a 20-year-old kid from Memphis, Tennessee, with no major label deal, no industry connections, and everything to prove. His father, Lontrell Williams Sr., known in Memphis as Mob Boss, had founded his own local label called Mob Ties Records, so Pooh was raised around music. The studio was not foreign to him. The grind was in his blood. He dropped his debut single Hell Night in 2019, linking up with his day one running partner Big 30. Then came Shiesty Summer, then Choppa Talk, then
This
Day
is
One.
Shiesty
He was
Summer,
grinding
yeah. Put
hard,
me for your
building a
lump,
regional
yeah.
following the old-fashioned way, through consistency and raw talent. And people started paying attention. By early 2020, Pooh Shiesty had caught the attention of none other than Gucci Mane, the Atlanta trap legend, the founder of 1017 Records, and one of the most successful independent label bosses in hip-hop history. Now, Gucci Mane did not just offer a handshake, he extended a full joint venture deal. Pooh would sign to 1017 Records, which was distributed through Atlantic Records. That means Atlantic's infrastructure, Atlantic's marketing budget, Atlantic's global reach. For a kid from Memphis who had been going independent, this was the dream. Pooh said it himself in an interview. "I don't know who else I would go to. Ain't nobody was coming at me like WAP. It just made perfect sense." And on the surface, it did make sense. Gucci Mane had a track record. He had launched careers. Young Thug came through his circle. He had eyes for talent. So Pooh signed on the dotted line in April of 2020, and they celebrated by dropping a collaborative single together called Still Remember. On the record, Pooh literally rapped about the blessing of the deal, comparing himself and Gucci to Shaq and Kareem. He was happy, he was grateful, he was locked in. But here is what Pooh Shiesty did not fully understand on the day he signed that contract, and what most young artists never understand until it is too late. That deal was not just a record deal, it was a business arrangement structured to benefit 1017 Records and Atlantic first. When you sign to an imprint label like 1017, the label boss, in this case Gucci Mane, takes his cut before anything flows down to you. Recording costs, promotional costs, advances, all of it gets recouped from your royalties before you see a dollar. And the royalty split? In a typical imprint deal, the artist is often looking at 15 to 20% of the net, after the label takes its share, after Atlantic takes its distribution fee, after recoupment. The label boss is sitting at the top of that structure, collecting on everything.
That's crazy as hell.
Let me break down exactly
and he
how
ain't
a deal
even
like
getting
this works.
15% of that
Because most
shit.
people have no idea
The
how these
15% he
numbers
supposed to
actually
get,
move.
he ain't
And
even.
this is the key to understanding why Pooh Shiesty felt robbed before he ever pulled out a weapon. When a label like 1017 signs an artist, they are not just buying your music, they are buying your masters, meaning they own the recordings, not just the right to sell them, they own them. You are essentially selling the product you make to them in exchange for a percentage of what that product earns. In a standard recording deal in 2020, a new artist with no leverage would be looking at a royalty rate somewhere between 15 and 18% of what is called the SRLP, the suggested retail list price of the music. But here is the catch. You do not see those royalties until the label has recouped every dollar they spent on you. The advance they gave you, recouped. The studio time, recouped. The music videos, recouped. The promotional campaigns, recouped. Every dollar the label spends comes out of your future royalty pool before you see a single check. Meanwhile, the label boss, Gucci Mane in this case, is operating on the publishing side and the master ownership side simultaneously. On the master ownership side, labels typically keep 82 to 85% of all recording revenue. So every stream of back in blood that generated a dollar, Gucci Mane's 1017 Records was seeing 80+ cents of it.
80.
And there is something else people forget, touring.
Nasty
Before
as
Pooh
hell.
Shiesty went to prison, he was reportedly pulling in between $30,000 and $50,000 per performance. He was doing shows across the country at the peak of his momentum. A label with a 360 deal, which means the label takes a percentage of all revenue including touring, merchandise, and endorsements, would be collecting off every show too. When you add it all up, streaming, album sales, touring, merchandise, sync licensing,
They put a
radio
motherfucking
royalties,
new
the number
edition
that
on
flows through a
bro.
label off a commercially successful artist is staggering. And the artist, especially early in their career under a restrictive deal, sees a fraction of what the label collects. No cap, this is why so many rappers who go platinum end up broke. Pooh Shiesty did not have the leverage of a veteran. He was a new artist. He took what they offered him, because at that point in his career, the platform was worth more than the money. That decision would define the next 6 years of his life. Now let me break down the money, because this is the core of everything. Within months of signing, Pooh Shiesty dropped the record that changed everything. November 6, 2020, Back in Blood, featuring Lil Durk hits the internet. and the streets went crazy immediately. The song debuted on the Billboard Hot 100 and climbed all the way to number 13. For reference, that is one of the highest charting debut singles from any Memphis rapper ever. It was certified 5 times platinum by the RIAA, 5 times platinum. Now let's talk about what 5 times platinum actually means in real dollars. A platinum certification means 1 million units, combining streams, digital downloads, and physical sales. On streaming platforms, artists typically earn somewhere between 3 and 5 thousandths of a dollar per stream. That sounds small, but when a song racks up hundreds of millions of streams, the money adds up fast. Back in Blood has accumulated over 600 million streams on Spotify alone, and that is not counting Apple Music, YouTube, Tidal, Amazon, and every other platform. Conservative estimates put the total streaming revenue from that one song in the range of $3 to $5 million, and that revenue does not stop. It keeps flowing in every single month, every single year, as long as people keep pressing play. And guess who sits at the top of that revenue chain? Gucci Mane's 1017 Records. But Back in Blood was just the beginning. In February of 2021, Pooh dropped his debut mixtape, Shiesty Season, 17 tracks. Features from Lil Durk, Gucci Mane, 21 Savage, Big 30, and more. The project debuted at number 4 on the Billboard 200 with 62,000 album equivalent units in its first week. He became Billboard's Hip Hop Rookie of the Month. Additional records like Neighbors, Twerksome, Guard Up, and SUVs all added platinum and gold certifications. Multiple revenue streams flowing simultaneously.
Travelers swear by this one trick.
What's up with Mom?
She's been
No, I ain't gonna lie, Shiesty was going crazy though for all that for Gucci to be getting 80%.
Compare hundreds of sides, so you always get the
Shit,
trick right.
Kayak.
at this point,
Got that
100%.
Mama's back,
Cause he
fam.
shit, he getting
Music
all
is
that
one
shit
of
when
the
he
best
in
ways to
jail.
express your feelings. That's why
That shit
today
Pause
we're
and
gonna do
Gucci Man
something.
get everything. So he really don't own
YouTube
that
ad
money,
revenue,
you know what I'm
radio
saying?
play, sync licensing deals, playlist placements. His name was everywhere. At the peak of his momentum, Pooh Shiesty's annual income from
But
music
the fact that
was
he didn't
estimated
get
at
him,
over
you know what I'm saying,
$1
is
million
crazy though.
a
I ain't
year.
gonna lie to
And
you.
remember, that is Pooh's share after recoupment. The label was taking its cut before any of that hit his pockets. According to people familiar with how 1017's deals work, an imprint deal structured the way Pooh's was would likely give Gucci Mane's label a 50 to 70% take of the master recording revenue before Pooh sees anything, and that is before Atlantic gets their distribution percentage. When you calculate the full picture of what 1017 was generating off Pooh Shiesty between 2020 and 2022, the streams, the tours, the merch, the features, the sync placements, we are talking about serious money flowing through that label. People close to the situation allege that number exceeded $25 million in total revenue off Pooh's catalog and likeness. $25 million. And here's where things started getting real grimy. In October of 2020, just months after his debut explosion, Pooh Shiesty got caught up in a shooting in Bay Harbor Islands, Florida. Armed robbery charges, aggravated assault, criminal theft, a whole case unfolding around him at the exact moment his career was taking off. Then in June of 2021, he was arrested again, this time connected to a strip club shooting in Miami, held without bond. By January 2022, Pooh Shiesty pleaded guilty to federal conspiracy charges. And in April of 2022, he was sentenced to 5 years and 3 months in federal prison. He was 22 years old. Now here is the part that grinds your soul when you think about it. The moment Pooh Shiesty walked into that federal facility, his clock as a working artist stopped. No tours, no appearances, no new music drops, no brand deals, no nothing. But his catalog, that never stopped working. Back in Blood kept streaming. Shiesty Season kept selling. Radio kept spinning his records.
Kept making money and
Playlists
he
kept
wasn't
featuring
getting
him.
none of that.
YouTube kept running
That's
ads on his
nasty
videos.
work.
And
I'm
all
not
of that
gonna lie to
revenue,
you.
every dollar that came in off the music that Pooh Shiesty
That's
created
nasty
kept
work.
flowing through 1017 Records, kept flowing to Gucci Mane for 3 years straight. Think
See if I
about
get a
that for
little
a
quick
second.
thumbnail for
3
this.
full
Hold on.
years of streaming revenue, sync licensing, playlist royalties, YouTube monetization, all generating income off the name and voice of a man sitting in a federal cell with no access to any of it. The system kept spinning, the checks kept coming,
You know what
and
I'm
not a
saying?
single dollar of that money allegedly made
Yeah,
its way
stop
back
playing.
to Pooh or his family while he was locked up. That is not a rumor. That is how the music business is structured. The masters keep generating money whether the artist is working or not, and the label, the entity that owns those masters, collects every penny while the artist is away. There is no pause button on royalties. There is no morality clause that says if the artist is incarcerated, the label stops collecting. The machine does not care. It just keeps running. And according to people close to the situation, Gucci Mane ran that machine for 3 years off Pooh Shiesty's back and did not send a dollar home. Now this is where it gets personal. This is where it stops being just a business story and becomes something else entirely. While Pooh Shiesty was sitting inside a federal correctional facility, his family on the outside was still living life. His mother, Gladys Baines, known publicly as Mama Shiesty, was out here holding things together, raising grandkids, managing what was left of Pooh's affairs, keeping the family together while her son did his time. And according to people close to the family, Gladys Baines reached out to Gucci Mane for help. Now understand the context. This is not a stranger asking for a handout. This is the mother of the artist whose music was actively making Gucci Mane money in real time. While Back in Blood was racking up streams, while Shiesty Season was on playlists worldwide, while Gucci was cashing royalty checks. Pooh's mother was reaching out for support, and allegedly Gucci Mane ignored her. A post that circulated on social media, made by someone close to the family who tagged Mama Shiesty, made a claim that shook the internet, that Gucci Mane made over $25 million off Pooh Shiesty's music during his incarceration and did not split a single dollar with his family. Not $1. While Pooh sat in a cell, the money generated by his art, his voice, his creativity, allegedly went entirely into Gucci Mane's pocket. And when Pooh Shiesty was released from federal prison in October of 2025, having served 3 years after receiving credit for time served, he came home with one thing on his mind beyond music, the bag that was owed to him. Let's be clear about what he walked back into. His comeback single FDO, First Day Out, dropped 2 months after his release and immediately shot to #1 on Billboard's Hot R&B and Hip Hop Songs chart and #1 on Hot Rap Songs. #1, the kid had not lost a step. The audience was still there. The money potential was undeniable, but he was still on a contract signed in 2020 before he had leverage, before he had a platinum album, before he had proven himself. He came home a confirmed hitmaker locked into a deal structured for a newcomer. Here is important context that makes this situation even more explosive. In the early days of 2026, word leaked that Yo Gotti and his collective music group had approached Pooh Shiesty about signing to CMG. Now understand what CMG represented at that moment. Gotti had built one of the hottest rosters in the game, ESTG, Glorilla becoming one of the biggest names in hip-hop, real infrastructure, real back-end splits. CMG was offering artists the kind of creative freedom and financial transparency that Pooh Shiesty was not getting at 1017. And Yo Gotti and Gucci Mane have had personal history going back years. Real bad blood between Atlanta and Memphis that predates Pooh Shiesty by a decade. So the idea of Pooh Shiesty jumping from 1017 to CMG was not just a business move, it was a statement. The money was there, the platform was there. The escape hatch was right in front of him, but he could not walk through it while he was still signed to Gucci Mane.
Like, nah, nigga, you ain't leaving my shit and going over there. Like,
major label offer on the table, the whole rap world waiting to see what was next, and a contract from 2020 holding him in place like a chain. And when Pooh Shiesty looked at his situation, still signed to 1017, still locked into those original terms, with no clarity on what he was owed from 3 years of catalog revenue while he was incarcerated, he did what any man would do. He went and asked. According to accounts of what went down, Pooh Shiesty approached Gucci Mane and asked directly where his money was. He wanted to know what happened to the revenue his music generated while he was locked up. He wanted accountability. And
I would have asked too, shit, like, nigga, where that bag at, my boy? You know what I'm saying? You can't break a leg, you feel me? Not half of it, you know what I'm saying?
1017 Records.
Not 25%, gang, you ain't give me shit. Bro, you in this bitch racking up 25 M's off me,
Now you
gang?
have to understand what that means to someone who grew up the way Pooh Shiesty grew up. In the streets, there is a code. And the most fundamental part of that code is this. You do not play with a man's money. You do not collect off someone's labor and tell them you are broke when they come to collect. That is not just disrespectful. That is a declaration. People have been killed over less than that. And Pooh Shiesty was also sitting on another realization that was burning a hole in him. He had assumed, the way most people would assume, that after doing over 3 years in federal prison, his recording obligations would be done. That he would walk out a free man, musically. that the time served would count for something in the contract. That is not how it worked. In the music industry, when an artist goes to prison, their contract does not terminate. It is suspended.
Contract
The clock on
pause.
their album delivery commitments pauses. But the label's right to collect revenue from existing masters, that never pauses. The label keeps collecting
racking
throughout
up
the
bread while
entire
his
bid. And
contract
when the artist
paused.
gets out,
That
they are
shit
still under
crazy.
contract,
And
with
he's
the same
still not
terms
getting
they
bread,
signed.
folks. Gucci man petty, I ain't gonna lie to you. He petty as hell, bro.
Tom Ogle drove 200 miles on only 2 gallons of gasoline. Royal
At the beginning. So Pooh Shiesty walked out of prison in October
Pooh Shiesty.
2025, still legally bound to 1017 Records, still under Gucci Mane's authority as label boss, still subject to the same deal structure that gave Gucci the lion's share of everything his music generated. He was free from the feds, but not free from the contract. Every day that passed was money he could not make legitimately. Every day was an opportunity disappearing. And every time he looked at his situation and thought about those 3 years he spent in federal prison while his music kept generating revenue for someone else, that pressure built. And that is when he decided the conversation with Gucci Mane was over. January 10th, 2026, Dallas, Texas. Pooh Shiesty reached out to Gucci Mane and 2 other music industry professionals and told them to come to Dallas for a business meeting, a sit-down, a conversation about the terms of his recording contract with 1017. What those 3 men did not know was that they were not walking into a business meeting, that they were walking into an ambush. According to the federal criminal affidavit filed by FBI Special Agent Brittany Garcia, Pooh Shiesty had spent time preparing for this moment. He traveled from Memphis to Dallas. His father, Lontrell Williams Sr., rented vehicles for the crew. A 2020 Dodge Charger Hellcat registered in his name, plus 2 additional rental cars. Multiple men traveled from Memphis to Texas with one purpose. The 3 victims, Gucci Mane and 2 associates identified in the complaint as MM and BP, flew into Dallas believing they were there to talk business. They walked into a music studio inside an office building. The moment those studio doors closed behind them, everything changed. According to the DOJ complaint, Pooh Shiesty and 8 co-conspirators, including his father and Big 30, executed what prosecutors described as a coordinated armed takeover. Multiple individuals produced firearms. The door to the studio was immediately blocked. Big 30 physically placed his body against the exit to prevent anyone from leaving. The victims were trapped. Pooh Shiesty reached into his bag and pulled out a black AK-style pistol. He pointed it at Gucci Mane, the man who had signed him, who had given him his platform, who he had once compared to Shaq in his own lyrics, and demanded
we ain't
he
trying to hear
sign
none of that.
paperwork releasing Pooh from his recording
sign
contract.
that contract,
Gucci Mane
nigga.
refused, so Pooh
Fuck you
Shiesty held the
he
gun
ain't trying
on
to
him
hit
until
none
he
of that.
changed his
Nigga,
mind.
you ain't give me no
According to
bread,
the
nigga.
affidavit,
Nigga, sign that
Gucci Mane
contract.
signed the contract release under gunpoint, and Big 30 stood there with his phone out, recording the entire thing on video. A man signing away a business contract at gunpoint on film while the studio doors blocked. But it did not stop there. After the paperwork was signed, the crew turned on the other 2 victims. Multiple firearms came out. One associate, referred to as MM in the complaint, was physically choked to the point of near unconsciousness. And then the robbery happened in full. Rolex watches, jewelry including Gucci Mane's own wedding ring and earrings, cash, a Louis Vuitton bag, a wallet fitted with an Apple AirTag. Everything of value in that room was taken. The victims were trapped inside that studio while the crew walked out. They made their way out in vehicles that surveillance cameras from a neighboring building had already captured on film. And then, and this is where the story gets unbelievably reckless, some members of the crew went on social media and posted the stolen items. They posted the Rolex watches, they posted the jewelry on their own accounts. After a federal kidnapping and armed robbery, the moment word spread on social media that Gucci Mane had been robbed and kidnapped by his own artist, the entire rap internet exploded. Some people sided with Pooh, arguing that if the money allegations were true, Gucci brought it on himself. Others called the move reckless and stupid, pointing out that you cannot run a legitimate comeback and pull a move like that at the same time. But the thing that really got people talking was the
stupid,
cooperation. The fact that Gucci Mane gave information to federal investigators. In the world Pooh Shiesty came from, going to the police after getting robbed, even if you are the victim, carries a stigma that no amount of legal justification erases on the streets. 50 Cent immediately hopped online to fire shots at Gucci's credibility. Old videos of Gucci Mane saying "don't tell the police" resurfaced and went viral overnight. The court of public opinion was divided. The court of law was not. Visual FBI badge, ankle monitor graphics, social media post screenshots, DOJ seal. The FBI was already involved before the arrests were made public, and when you look at the evidence prosecutors compiled against Pooh Shiesty and his crew, the case is airtight in ways that are almost hard to believe. First, the ankle monitor. Pooh Shiesty was on federal home confinement at the time of
Gang,
the
I ain't
Dallas
gonna
robbery.
lie to you.
He had
I
come
think the
home
whole
from prison
situation
in
was dumb as
October
hell. Like the whole, I don't know what they
but he
was,
was not fully free.
what they thought was
He
gonna
was
happen
on
after.
supervised release with an ankle monitor. That ankle monitor placed him at the scene of the crime. GPS data from the federal monitoring system.
Now, I was hearing he cut it off, but like I said, I've been hearing a lot saying that his ankle monitor was at the studio.
Technology put him in the room. Second, the surveillance footage. Cameras from a neighboring building
hold
to
on.
that Dallas studio on January 10th. The government's own supervision technology put him in the room. Second, the surveillance footage. Cameras from a neighboring building captured the vehicles the crew used. Two of those cars were rental vehicles rented in the name of Lontrell Williams Sr., Pooh's father. The Dodge Charger Hellcat was registered to Pooh's father. The vehicle trail from Memphis to Dallas is documented. Third, the social media posts. Members of the group photographed the stolen goods and posted them online. Investigators matched those items to what the victims reported stolen, and those accounts were linked directly back to the defendants. Fourth, the video Big 30 recorded.
Say hello to Zero, the
Gee,
easiest way to stop
what?
worrying about cash flow.
Nah, they crazy as
Spend
hell.
less time
Fuck.
balancing and more time building.
They crazy as
It's
hell for that.
powerful
I ain't
enough
gonna
for
lie
your
to you.
accountant. Simple enough for you. Try Zero today.
Niggas real
Even
like
if
said,
you
nigga, we
only
going
have
on a
1 to 2
mission,
hours a day
nigga.
to do
You know what I'm
forensic
saying? We need,
you will
yeah,
succeed,
and we
just
need
like I did.
ends, nigga.
Hey,
Give
everyone,
me
my
out
name-
that
A
contract
video
tonight.
of Gucci
Fuck
Mane
you talking
signing
about?
the contract release under gunpoint on camera. Documented evidence of the crime in progress, allegedly created by one of the defendants themselves. And now let's talk about what they are actually facing in court, because the charges here are not something you negotiate your way out of with a good lawyer and a clean record. The federal complaint was filed Monday, March 30th, 2026. By Wednesday, April 1st, the FBI had executed raids simultaneously across Dallas and Memphis. The FBI's Memphis field office hit a home in Cordova, Tennessee. A property records search confirmed it was owned by Pooh Shiesty. Multiple arrests went down in a single day across multiple cities. Those charged include Pooh Shiesty, Lontrell Williams Jr., as the ringleader, his father Lontrell Williams Sr., Big 30, Rodney Wright Jr., plus 6 additional co-conspirators: Kadarius Waters, Demarion Gibson, DeMarcus Glover, Corday Johnson, Darian McDaniel, and Terrence Rogers. 9 defendants total. All 9 face federal kidnapping charges. And this is critical.
Damn, they
Federal
always
kidnapping is not a state charge. It is not a robbery charge that gets plea dealed down to a
She
few
they
years.
always on his
Federal
ass.
kidnapping carries a maximum penalty of life in prison. No parole in the federal system. If convicted, Pooh Shiesty, who is 26 years old, could spend every remaining year of his life inside a federal penitentiary.
Shit, he
His
might.
father is facing the same charges. Big 30, his closest collaborator, his day one, the man he made music with since they were teenagers, is facing the same charges. This one move took out an entire circle. U.S. Attorney Ryan Raybould addressed the media directly. For
Shit
anyone
dumb as
contemplating
hell,
using
gang. The
violence
whole
and
shit is
intimidation as a
dumb,
business
gang.
practice, I'm here to tell you that it will be vigorously investigated and prosecuted. And the lawyer for Big 30, Arthur Horn, told media his client had no prior criminal history, that he and Pooh had come up together in the music game, that people should wait for all the facts before passing judgment. But the facts already public are damaging. They paint a picture of a man who felt cornered, trapped by a contract, broke after 3 years in prison watching someone else profit off his art, and who made the worst possible decision when he finally snapped. This situation is bigger than Pooh Shiesty and Gucci Mane. This is a story the entire music industry needs to sit with, because what allegedly happened here is not
That shit going
unique.
down in history.
The details are extreme.
fuck? This
Nobody
shit go-
else has allegedly
Gucci Mane
pulled
getting
out an
robbed
AK
alone
to
is
get
going
out of a
down in
record
history,
deal.
like-
But the underlying grievance, the feeling of being trapped, of watching someone else collect off your work while you sit in a box, of coming home with nothing after giving everything, that is not rare in this industry. That is a pattern. Rick Ross addressed the situation the day after the arrests dropped and said something that actually made sense. He told his followers that if you signed a deal for $100,000 and now there is $10 million on the table, you renegotiate. You have to do it through legitimate channels. You cannot bring the streets into the boardroom. And he is right about the method, but he also acknowledged what everybody already knows, that the underlying tension Pooh Shiesty felt about money and contracts is a conversation the industry has been avoiding for decades, because here is the reality of what a standard imprint deal does to a young artist from the hood. You come in with no lawyer who really understands music law, you get an advance, maybe a few $100,000, and you think you are rich. But that advance is recoupable. Every dollar they spend marketing you, recording you, promoting you, comes out of your royalties before you see a penny. And meanwhile, the label is collecting master recording revenue that the artist sees very little of. Pooh Shiesty created a 5-times platinum hit. He created a top 5 debut mixtape. He generated hundreds of millions of streams. And he came home from prison with an estimated net worth of $3 to $4 million, while his label allegedly pulled $25 million in revenue off his catalog. That is the real score that got kept. That is the math that broke him. And here is where things stand
That network
today.
should be
Pooh Shiesty
fake though.
is in
That shit,
federal
they don't
custody.
be
His
never
father
knowing how
is in
much they
federal
ass be
custody.
having for
Big
real.
30 is in federal custody. The man who once rapped that Gucci came and got him is now staring at a potential life sentence for how he tried to get himself out. His comeback single FDO had just hit #1. The bag from Yo Gotti and CMG was reportedly on the table. Everything Pooh needed was right there, a legitimate lane out of a situation he felt was suffocating him. And he threw all of it away. That is the real tragedy in all of this. Not just the legal exposure, not just the potential decades behind bars, but the fact that the music was working, the audience was there, the money was coming back around legitimately. His lawyer had said publicly after his prison release, he will be bigger than ever. The streets do not care about your streaming numbers when you feel disrespected, when you feel like someone took from you and looked you in the eyes and lied about it, when your mother was calling and getting ignored. All the logic in the world does not compete with that kind of pain. Pooh Shiesty thought the meeting in
Bro,
Dallas
he
was
said,
going to
nigga,
solve something, but the only thing that
I
happened
get
in that
life about my
studio on
respect.
January
And this
10th,
nigga 30 said, nigga, I'm
2026
down
was
with
that
you,
a
nigga. I'm
26-year-old
riding.
man from Memphis made a decision that the system will never let him walk back. $25 million in alleged revenue, one meeting gone sideways, and a life sentence sitting at the end of the road. That is the real story of Pooh Shiesty and Gucci Mane. And if you are watching
You
this
might
and
be
you are an
cooked after that.
up-and-coming
That shit
artist,
crazy. I ain't
please,
gonna lie to
before
you.
you sign anything, get a lawyer who actually knows this industry. Understand every clause in your contract. Know what happens to your royalties when you cannot work. Know what your label is collecting while you are not in the room. Because the music industry will smile in your face, put you on magazine covers, call you family, and collect every dollar you generate without losing a night of sleep. Pooh Shiesty learned that the hard way.
Shit,
Make
nasty
sure
work.
you do
That shit
not.
sick that
Think about the
motherfuckers be
math
like,
one
you
more
know what I'm
time from a
saying?
different angle. Pooh
Bros,
Shiesty
then
came
really,
home in
you feel
October
me?
2025. He drops FDO and immediately hits #1. The demand was clearly still there. The audience had
No
waited
matter how
3
much
years
Gucci
and
helped
showed
them
back
folks,
up in
he
full
helped
force
Gucci ass a lot
overnight.
too,
That
folks.
tells you
Gucci
the
petty as
catalog
hell though.
value never went away. Every
His ass a
stream,
goofy.
every playlist ad, every time a DJ played Back in Blood at a club while Pooh was in prison. That was money, real money, consistent money. Money that flowed upward through the label structure and never made a U-turn back to the artist who created it. If you made it this far, you already know what time it is. Drop a comment below. Do you think Gucci Mane was wrong for how he handled this? Or did Pooh Shiesty make his own bed? Let us know what you think. And if you are new here, make sure you subscribe because we are just getting started.
Wendy's went back to the kitchen.
We are
to give
just
our
getting
famous
started.
spicy chicken sandwich a
Let's get it.
total
Y'all do the
upgrade.
same here though.
More
Like,
crunch.
comment, subscribe, turn on post notices if y'all into more content like this. This sandwich look good as hell, by the way. You feel me? If y'all think this sandwich look good as hell, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Turn on post notices. Other than that, if you don't like it, subscribe anyway. We out. Let's get it.